everyone, I'm Darielle Snipes with the latest installment of Talk to the CEO featuring Eric Gordon. Today's topic includes the recommendations for the future of academic programs and facilities. Joining me now is CMSD CEO Eric Gordon. Welcome back.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. But after months of public meetings and listening to input, you gave recommendations to the Board of Education when it comes to facilities and programmings for K through 8 and high school buildings. Can you give an example, or can you provide me with some information on how you made those decisions?
So what the board approved is a set of recommendations that does a few things. First is to consolidate a number of our high schools so that we have fewer physical high schools but larger, more viable programs where we can offer more electives, more advanced placement courses, more career technical training courses, more after-school programming, athletics, arts, those sorts of things. We recommended that for the Glenville campus and the East Technical High School campus and the John F. Kennedy campus. We also recommended some school closures, 4 K-8 schools and 1 high school, Design Lab High School, which will phase out over the next 4 years, and some new construction to replace the current Clark Walton School, to renovate Gallagher School, and a new Lincoln West as examples.
And you've always said that this is not about cutting costs. This is about providing deeper, richer classes and programs, correct?
Yes, so these consolidations free up about $11 million of resources once they're fully deployed, which will be over a 4-year period of time. And those resources are how we can then offer more programming, how we can offer more elective classes, how we can offer more career technical education classes, how we can invest in the arts and sports. And so this is not about finding that $11 million to reduce the budget. We have a budget challenge that we have to tackle in a different way. This really is about thinking about how do we invest the dollars that the public has entrusted us with so that we can do more with those dollars by having fewer physical places that we're operating.
And when it comes to the consolidations, New Tech Collinwood was a part of the consolidations, and New Tech West was to be closed. Now, the two schools were removed from the list for very different reasons. Can you explain why?
Yes, so Collinwood High School we removed from the merger or consolidation recommendation because the Collinwood community really advocated, in my opinion, for kids and for community. So they really came together as a community and said that, you know, we really believe that we need a Collinwood High School and that we can attract kids back, and we know there are high school age kids in the community. And so we have put at least 1 year pause on that decision, but with the expectation that the community stays engaged. And that's both the formal community, you know, city council leaders, CDC leaders, business and industry leaders, but also the informal community, alumni and community members that showed up that can be mentors and tutors and do other sorts of things. New Tech West, on the other hand, a very different situation. It's actually a higher performing school than many of the schools that surround it. And there was really no good place to co-locate or consolidate it with. And so one of our principles was to make sure that we were making sure we had the best possible schooling options. And so we really felt like it was the most responsible thing to do to keep a higher performing school open and work on building the numbers there and making it more viable as well.
And when it comes to New Tech Collinwood, like you said, you challenge the community to stay engaged. What would you like to see them do to make sure that Collinwood grows or it becomes a richer school so that it will remain open for longer than a year?
Well, 3 core things that I've challenged the community to do, and it's the community with the district. It's not the district or the community, but it has to be community-led so that we all own success or we all own failure. And the success to me looks like 3 things. One is investing in a manufacturing pathway, because Collinwood community has a large manufacturing industry actually in the community. And so this is things like Learn and Earn, where kids actually work in entry-level positions and learn the industry as part of that paid work experience. It's internships and apprenticeships where the kids can leave the school and go literally right up the street and work inside of the manufacturing industries that sit right down the street from Collinwood High School. The second is really organize a grassroots recruitment and retention program. You know, people kept saying to me, what is the district going to do about enrollment? Well, the problem is that people don't have an affinity with their district. They have an affinity with their school. Blue Steel, always a railroader, right? And so that has to be a grassroots effort with the district to find kids that we can attract back into Collinwood High School. And then the third is to really re-envision the campus itself. The campus was built for 4,000 kids. At our biggest, if we got every single kid back, we'd have 1,200. And so how do we make it a multi-purpose? How do we move nonprofits in, or businesses, or maybe housing, and compartmentalize the building so that there's a space for a school, but that we also take advantage of the building as an asset in the community? That's not all going to be done in a year. What I will know in a year is whether people stayed at the table and are working on the challenge.
I understand. So the board approved your recommendations, and so it's going to move forward to the next phase. So how is the district going to help families and students with these transitions that when they do have to consolidate?
So part of the reason it was so important for me to get these recommendations approved in November is so that we have ample planning time for transitions. When the district closed schools in 2010, we announced them in April and then had to be ready to open in August. And that didn't give us any way to really engage with the communities who are going through these changes. And so what people will see as we go into December, post the Thanksgiving holiday, is a lot of planning meetings being organized with implementation teams. And so if you are part of the East Technical High School consolidation, people from East Technical High School, Washington Park, and Jane Addams coming together, students, parents and caregivers, educators, and district employees, coming together to work together to say, what are the problems that we need to solve and what are the solutions we'll bring? People are very concerned about safety, very concerned about transportation. Well, let's tackle those things together, because I'm concerned about safety for our kids in our community, but I also know my scarabs will rise to the occasion to make their home a welcoming place for anybody who's a scarab. But we only do that with kids, right? So we will be putting those implementation teams together in December and actively be engaged in that through the entire second semester and over the summer so that we have effective transitions.
So you mentioned 4 K through 8 schools and 1 high school will close. What will happen to those buildings?
So there's a number of things that can happen with buildings. We are following a strategy we learned from Kansas City, where they had a person whose job was to repurpose buildings, to find a new use for those buildings. And so we'll be actively working on that strategy. That can include land swaps with the city and giving them to the city for economic redevelopment or other uses that the city might have. And so we'll explore all of those options with community development and economic development, city planning. Second option, which is required under law, would be making them available to charter schools, and we have to do that if the building's been out of use for more than a year under state law. We could also demolish and turn the space back into a green space for the community. So there's a number of things that we can do that we'll be exploring, and again, using that Kansas City strategy of having somebody whose full job is to repurpose schools.
So in the end, this positions the district for the future. And so how does this consolidations and the closing position the district for success in the future?
Well, right. A lot of what this conversation has been about the past or the future, right? And so I've heard a lot of feedback about, well, if you would put woodshop back. Well, woodshop is the past. It is an art, and it is an elegant art. I have a friend who makes beautiful pieces, but it is a past art. The future is fab labs, right? Resins and plastics that kids are designing their wood shop in, right? And so when we look at the investments we're making, we looked at all of the future-facing opportunity industries that we know are available in Cleveland. I've mentioned manufacturing, but welding, we need welders, and it's a well-paying job that we can be training kids in high school. IT, you know, we have MCPC, a great partner here in Cleveland that is looking for people to work in their cybersecurity space on Carnegie Avenue, right up the street from East Tech on East 55th. So let's train Cisco there and then send the kids into that environment. And so we really are trying to say, yes, we have to honor the past of our communities and our alumni, but we have to position the district for programming that leads to a bright future so that those kids can admire their past when they're grown alumni as well.
Exactly. So we're moving towards the end of the semester. Do you have any reflections for the first semester to date?
It's really hard to imagine that the semester is almost to a close, and with a late Thanksgiving, it really is. We come back from the holiday and wrap it up. You know, what I am seeing is exactly what I want to see. I'm seeing kids wrestling with academically complex tasks that are engaging and creating a joyful and adventurous learning environment, and that they're demonstrating their learning in all kinds of authentic ways, and it's paying off. Our state report card has improved. We've become one of the fastest improving districts in the state of Ohio. The best news no one ever heard was the national report card NAEP scores, where the state and nation dropped and big cities dropped, but we held our own and gained in both 4th and 8th grade reading and math. So that's really big news. Our Say Yes efforts are paying off, and so we just got what's called National Clearinghouse data that says how many kids went on to 2-year or 4-year college, and we had a 4% gain. And that's when we announced Say Yes in January, after college decisions were already made. So lots of positive news, and that's all because of our kids and educators not trying to chase test scores, but really paying attention to doing complex tasks and demonstrating authentically their learning in ways that lead to joy and adventure in our classrooms, and it's exciting to see.
Yes, and looking ahead, high school choice is about to begin.
Yes, so as soon as we come back from the Thanksgiving recess, literally as people are watching this program, high school choice begins. December 2nd, the portal opens, choosecmsd.org. We know that of our 3,000 8th graders, 90% or more typically do choose a CMSD high school, and we know now that every one of those choices comes with a Say Yes scholarship if you attend high school for all 4 years here in Cleveland and are a resident of the district. So an exciting time ahead to pick your high school if you're an 8th grader and your families.
It definitely is. Well, Eric Gordon, thank you for your time and the information.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.